Hi, it's me again. So I hope you take a break from 6.1. So today we will continue to talk about factoring, and we'll add a little bit more for this class is how to grouping. So for this section, which is section 6.2, we will talk about factoring and the opposite of factoring, which is grouping. So let me give you an example. If I have 3a to the x minus 7b to the x, so what's there in common? If you take a look. So you will find out that they all both have x, right? They both have x in common. So that means we can factor x out, like what we learned before in the section 6.1. So we pull out x. Of x term, we will have 3a minus 7 times b, right? So that's how we factor. So if, let me give you an example a little bit more complicated. If I have 3a times 2a plus 5 times b, and then minus 7b, 2a plus 5b. So take a look at this equation. What's there in common? Ooh, this one is a little bit complicated because what they in common is they all both have what? 2a plus 5b, right? So that means whatever inside the parentheses, 2a plus 5b would be their common factor. So if we pull 3a plus 5b, remember the whole thing. So that's why we need to add a parenthesis. What's left? What's remain? So what's remain here? We have 3a and then 7b. Is that it? No, we still have the negative sign. Always remember and be mindful about the sign. It's negative 7b. So I have 3a minus 7b. So that's called factor grouping. So let's do another example. If I have 3a plus 3, and then times 5a plus 2. Now I want you to distribute, which is the opposite, remember? The opposite of what we just did in example 2. Instead of group them into 2 parts, find the common factor, I want you to expand them. How we're going to do it? So I want to distribute 3a plus 3 into the second parentheses. So what we have is, I want these, I want this part multiply every turns into the second parentheses. So that means I have what? 3a plus 3 times 5b, and then 3a plus 3 times 2. Okay, so I have 3 plus 3 times 5b plus 3a plus 3 times 2. Why I use plus? Because in here, this is a plus. So that's why for the second time, we need to make it more consistent. So that's why it's also a plus, not a subtract. Okay, so now what's the next step? I want to continue to expand them. So I want to distribute 5b inside the parentheses to multiply every turns into the parentheses. I have a 5b times 3a, which is 15ab plus 15b at this part. I want to also distribute inside the parentheses. I have 2 times 3, which is 6a plus 3 times 2, which is 6. So, ta-da, that's it. That's when you expand them. Or they have a term or a way to do it. It's called FOIL. So what's FOIL stands for? This is not the method to do it, which is easier, it's a faster way. F stands for the first. O stands for outer. I stands for inner. L stands for last. So what's that mean? That means first, each parenthesis, the first term, they multiply together. So what's the first term? Let me use the similar color. This is first term, which is the first term of each parenthesis. So I have 3a times 5b, which is 15 times ab. So the second part is outer, which is both the outer. What's the outer? That means 3a times 2, which is outside of each parenthesis. So I have 3a times 2, which they're both positive. So that's why it's a plus, which is 6 times a. So the second one is I, which is inner. So the inner term would be 3 and 5b. So plus 3 times 5, which is 15b. So the last one is, oops, let me use a purple one. So the last term of each parenthesis, so which is 3 and 2. So 3 times 2, I have 6. So look, they are the same, which is 15ab plus 6a plus 15b and plus 6. If you notice, this order may be different, but they're the same because by the property of operation, you know that a plus b is equal to b plus a. So the order, it doesn't matter. So that means these two is equal. So this is a new method we learned, FOIL. I believe you learned it in high school or middle school. But I just want to remind some of you how to do it. So let's try another one. So this time, like I say, I always mentioned about the sign, the negative sign. So I want you to be careful about the negative sign. So let's try the negative one. Also, it's the same 3a minus 3 times 5b minus 2. Now it's not plus, it's minus. So we use the method of FOIL. The first term multiply together. I have 3a times 5b. And then the outer, which is 3a times negative 2. So I have 3a times negative 2. And then inner, which is negative 3 times what? 5b. And then the last is, we have a negative 3 times negative 2. So be careful about the term because you know that two negative numbers multiplied together is equal to a positive, and one positive, one negative, they multiply together is equal to a negative. So 3a times 5b is equal to 15ab, no doubt. But 3a times negative 2 is equal to negative 6. So instead of plus, now we change the sign to negative 6a. And then negative 3 times 5b is equal to negative 15b, and then negative 3 times negative 2, which is equal to a positive 6. So we keep it positive. So I want you to be careful of the negative sign. If you did it wrong, you know that the answer will be totally incorrect. Okay, so now let's do another example. So I have 10ab plus 15b plus 4a plus 6. So this one, What's the common factor? So let's look at the letters, the numbers, not the letters. I have a 10, 15, 4, and 6. It seems these 4 numbers, they don't have the common factors except for 1, which is not giving us a lot of information. So now let's look at the letters. They have A. Do they all both have A? And then what about B? Also not true. Some of the terms have B, some of them doesn't have B. So what we can do is we can separate the problem into 2 groups first. We want to split the problems into 2 groups. That means we group the problem. Okay, so the first group, we can let the first 2 terms become 1 group, and then the last 2 terms become another group. So now let's regroup them and see what do we have. So I have 10ab plus 15 times b at 4a plus 6. So now look at the first group. What's the common factor of the first group? I have a 10 and 15. So I have 5 in common. A, B, and B, which is B, will be the common. So for the first group, the common factor would be what? 5. So let's find the greatest common factor of each one. So for the first group, I have what? 5b. So now let's look at the second group. I have 4a and 6. So the common factor should be 2, right? So here should be on your draft paper. So we pull out the 5b. So the first group is what? 10ab divided by 5b. We have 2a plus 3. Okay, so for the second group, I factor the 2 out. So what's remain is 2a plus 3. Oh, wait a minute. Do you see something in common here? Wow, wow, wow. They both have what? 2a plus 3. So now can we group this again, since 2a plus 3 is in the same factor, is the common factor after we regroup them. So that means I can factor this group out like what we did earlier today for the example 2. So, okay. So I have 2a plus 3. So what's remain? I have 5b plus 2. So this method is called regrouping to factor. Okay. So let's do another example. So I have 6x squared plus 9sy minus 14x minus 21y. So the first thing, when you look at the problem, you know that, hey, they don't have a common factor. What we're going to do, we can split the problems into 2 groups. So the first group would be the first 2 terms, 6x squared plus 9x. So the second part is negative. Don't forget the negative sign. Negative 14x minus 21y. Okay, so what's the greatest common factor for the first group, the blue group? I have 3x. So for the second one, I have negative 14x and then negative 21y. So the common factor should be negative 7. Don't forget the negative sign. Okay, so after we factor the common factor out, 3x, so the blue group remains 2x plus 3y minus 7x. Okay, negative 14x divided by negative 4 is equal to what? Be careful about the sign. A negative number divided by a negative number, you should have a positive number, right? So which is 2x. And then negative 21y divided by negative 7 is equal to a positive 3y. So here we have another common factor, which is 2x plus 3y, 2x plus 3y. We keep going to factor this part out. We have 2x plus 3y in common. What's remain? 3x minus 7. Okay. So now let's do another example. What if when we group it, they don't have a common factor, like this example. I have 5x minus 8x minus 10y plus 16. Okay. So now we group them, split them into two parts. Blue part, oops. The blue group and then the red group. Okay, so for the blue group, what's their common factor? The greatest common factor for the blue one would be x. So I factor x. For the blue part, I have 5y minus 8. And then for the second part, I have negative 10y plus 16. So the common factor should be 2, right? So I add 2. So what's remain? Negative 10y divided by 2, I have a negative 5y plus 8. Something's not right here. They look quite similar, but there's a little bit different. I have 5y minus 8 on the first group, and then the second group is negative 5y plus 8. So what happened in here is they have different sign. So because in here I have a positive 5y and then a negative 8. So how can we turn this positive become negative, negative become positive? So what you can do, here's the trick. Instead of factor 2, we can factor negative 2. So here's the magic. So I have x, 5, oops, let me use the black one. Let me cross this part because I don't want 2, I want negative 2. So the first part remains the same. X times 5y minus 8. And then minus 2. So, okay. So what happened? So negative 10y divided by negative 2, I have what? Positive 5y. And then 16 divided by negative 2, I have negative 8. So now we have what? We found the common factor, 5y minus 8. So now we can factor it out. With 5y minus 8, remain x minus 2. So here's the trick. If you find out the sign is different, instead of factoring the 2, we can factor negative 2 because our goal is to make the sign to be the same. Okay, so now let's do another example. If we can see the common factor right away, such as 7 plus y minus negative 3x y minus 20x. Okay, if we do what we just did before, we group them. So the first two terms, they are together. So the first two, I want to regroup this part, and then the second group, I want to regroup this. So what happened? So 7 plus y, they're prime to each other. They don't have a common factor. And then negative 3x and negative 21x don't have x. So because the first part, they don't have a common factor, they don't give us much information. So what we can do is we can try to reorder it. We order the group. So let's take a look. So I can try to do 7 minus 21x plus y minus 3x. because instead of regrouping 7 and y, I can try to regroup 7 and minus 20x, and then y, and then negative 3y. So now let's see if that works. If it doesn't work, we can try another way to regroup them. So we separate these two groups. Not the first one, because the first one is not helping us. Okay, so the blue group, they have a common factor 7. So what's remain is 1 minus 3x. Okay, so for the red group, they have a common factor y. So what's remain? Y divided by y is 1. 3xy divided by y, I have 3x. Now we get what we want. They have a common factor, 1 minus 3x. Okay, so now we can factor this part. 1 minus 3x, what's remain is 7 plus y. Ta-da! Here we are. So that's it. That's all the example that I can give you today. So please do your homework on my Open Math. If you have any question, email me or show up on our regular meeting time. And if you can show up during that time, maybe we can schedule another meeting. Just shoot me an email. If you need any help, I'm here. Okay, have a good night. I hope you have fun for our first class. I'll see you next time.